Thanks for joining, everyone. This is our first of many, hopefully, cloud podcasts. I hope you like the name, Thinking Out Cloud. I am not taking the credit for that, but it is brilliant. My name is Peter Graham. I am a Modern Workplace Partner Development Manager at Ingram Microcloud UK, and I'm joined by the lovely
Chris Williams. Thank you very much. I've been described as lovely. That's a good start, isn't it? My name's Chris Williams. I work at Microsoft as one of our channel sales managers. Easy for me to say. I work very closely with Ingram Micro on their modern work and security business to help their partners, help their customers drive their cloud transformations. So, thank you for having me today on your first Thinking Out Cloud podcast.
Thank you very much for joining us. So we're kind of using these podcasts to kind of give partners a better description, understanding of all the different things that happen in the world of Microsoft and its clouds. There's too much to name today, but we want to kind of use this first podcast to kind of go through some recent activity that's happened in the channel. So this one is going to be around Inspire and Microsoft Copilot. So in terms of Inspire, would I be right to say that everything at Microsoft's Inspire conference had the word AI in the title?
AI came up a lot throughout the various different things that were talked about in Inspire. I don't think everything had AI.
It would have been a good drinking game.
AI, definitely. There was a lot of AI, but if we think about it, AI is coming up in a lot of customer and partner conversations, and specifically, as you mentioned, Copilot. Which Copilot? But Copilot came up.
Yeah, and for those who didn't manage to catch Inspire this year, there was a lot of, obviously, AI, but there were some really good announcements in terms of, there was Microsoft 365 Backup announced, there was things like Bing Chat Enterprise, Security Copilot, some new promotions and offers and things like that to help with partners with the cost of living, which is quite good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Bing Chat Enterprise, I speak to a lot of customers at partners events in engagements that they introduce me into, and one of the things I'm hearing from customers is where we want to control what's being plugged into large language models. Typically, ChatGPT is called out. I think what Bing Chat Enterprise now available, customers can switch on within their tenant, or partners can switch it on within their tenant. Quite simply, actually. It helps give that control, helps protect the data. So there was loads of great stuff coming out of Inspire, but I thought that was really timely. Customers want to know more about Copilot, and we know it's coming. But Bing Chat Enterprise being available now, I thought was a great move for customers and partners.
Yeah, I think it was, going back to your timely thing, is the fact that so many people are playing around with ChatGPT at the minute. They're using it in their workdays. And obviously this is going to support partners and their customers from using large language models in a safe environment through Bing Chat Enterprise.
It was talked about, and not to repeat what was said, but your data is your data. So Microsoft aren't monitoring Bing Chat Enterprise to look at what's being put into it. It doesn't remember the prompts that the customer, the individual, is putting into that. It's protected data. So in that sense, giving the confidence for individuals to go and use that technology, generative AI, Bing Chat Enterprise brings that. And actually it brought it across a variation of different licenses that customers already have now. So it's literally switch it on for those customers that had Business Standard, Business Premium, M365 E3 or E5, which, as I say, was a great move, and we've already seen customers and partners having those conversations with customers already. Yeah,
it was quite interesting watching Inspire this year because they had things like backpacks, so you could save different sessions you weren't able to attend and stuff like that. And it's quite strange because we're sitting in person here, but most of our conversations are on Teams.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. I mean, my backpack weighed me down. My back was backpack was laden with sessions. There was, as I say, there were so many different sessions that I thought would be beneficial to jump on and absorb. But the digital forum and the ability to be able to communicate with partners globally and help give clarity to some of the new technology coming to market, new opportunities that partners can go and capitalize on. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, at what time, the backpack was handy, right? So because everybody's got a day job.
I kind of wish there was like a watch room or something. So like whenever you're watching like on Netflix or
like
Disney,
cinema.
Yeah, so like everyone in the organization can like jump on and be at home. At 7 o'clock at night, feet up, and you're all just watching.
I think those
Teams.
kind of things happened. Yeah, I was going to say I think those kind of things happened.
Yeah, just watching with everyone. All right, so let's jump straight into it. So the first topic we've got is M365 Copilot. So obviously, when watching Inspire this year, there was a lot of Copilots announced. It's safe to say. I think 9. But we're going to talk today about the biggest one of all, which is Microsoft 365 Copilot, because it's going to be the one to rule them all. If you're any Lord of the Rings fans out there, I guess. But this one will mainly appeal to the productivity suites of Microsoft 365, because Teams has just hit a new milestone. 270 million active users every month.
I think that was the statistic that was released. Yeah. And to your point, yes, there were multiple Copilots in the works, multiple Copilots talked about. And I agree with your point, Microsoft 365 Copilot, if we think about the amount of individuals utilizing not only Teams, but the apps that Copilot will help support, PowerPoint, Excel, that is going to be the most widely utilized Copilot, I think, from the outset. Microsoft 365 Copilot. Thoroughly looking forward to getting access to it.
Yeah.
But I'm loving looking at what information's coming to market, helping to understand as to how it's going to help customers. Yeah.
And just for clarity, for those who may be listening, what exactly is Microsoft 365 Copilot?
Yeah, good question. So Microsoft 365 Copilot, to coin a phrase, is your Copilot for work. But what does that actually look like and mean? I'll probably start by saying what it's not. It's not ChatGPT connected to PowerPoint or Excel, but it is a large language model instance connected to those applications that you use every day. So as I mentioned, Excel, Teams, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, the applications that you might not use every application every single day, but you will interact with in your work life very regularly. It connects that large language model as well as your Microsoft Graph data into those applications, helping individuals get to an outcome quicker. As I say, there's countless possibilities as to how individuals and organizations can utilize it, but in essence, that's what it is. Your Copilot for work, helping you get to outcomes quicker.
Yeah. So it's safe to say it's not just as simple as going to a search engine and going, I need to do this. How would you describe it? How would you say it's different from using a search engine? Because everyone will typically use a search engine to do their most daily tasks already. Copilot is built into the applications themselves. How is it different from a search engine, would you say?
Yeah, so Copilot, the way in which you interact with it is through prompts. So giving the Copilot engine an understanding of what it is that you're looking to achieve, what is it that you want help with, so that it can then work on that. And to kind of verge into some other potentially useful information to get to the answer to your question, there were some prerequisites that were released, I think, months back now, in terms of what licenses would customers need to have in order to be able to attach Copilot to those users. And those licenses were Business Standard, Business Premium, Microsoft 365 E3, and Microsoft 365 E5. And the reason for that being is those licenses include something called the semantic index. And I'll touch on that briefly. And that's one of the core differences for me in terms of how it differs there. But there's a great video on Microsoft Mechanics around the semantic index that I'd encourage people to take a look at if you're not familiar with it. But if we think about when you go to a search engine, Bing, right? And you,
of course.
you search, you do a keyword search. So you'll throw in, the example I've seen on that video is monthly sales report, but you'll search in any search engine for those keywords and it will return a result. But it doesn't understand context to what it is that you're asking it, whereas Copilot does understand context because of the semantic index. So really here, what the semantic index will do is help understand that the monthly sales report is produced by Katie in finance. The monthly sales report is produced by Katie in finance on the final Friday of every month. So it associates information through the Microsoft graph, utilizing the semantic index to help bring that context, helping to get to the outcome that you're wanting it to get you to. Whereas with a search engine, it doesn't apply that context.
It gives you the basic information.
Yeah, and again, in the example that I've seen, it kind of talks about the brain really operating in the way of a semantic index. Because if you think about it, if you think about elephants, you will associate different things with elephants. Elephants are grey, they're large, unless they're babies, but they're grey, they're large, typically found in Africa, can be found at zoos, have a trunk. You will associate various pieces of information because of the context you understand, whereas search engine doesn't do that. Searches for the words for you. So I think that's probably the distinction I'd draw. But if anybody watching wants to understand a bit more than that, I'd thoroughly recommend checking out Microsoft Mechanics.
How do you think it's going to help people and businesses? So in the context of Microsoft's mission statement, empower every person and everyone in every business on the planet to achieve more.
Empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. You're close. Yeah, you're absolutely. You're in the ballpark. And the intention is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's not bad at all. I think I mentioned it before, like the possibilities are endless. This is new technology, okay? So this is in private preview with a limited number of customers globally. I am not one of those lucky individuals that have had access to it yet.
You'd have to win the lottery to be one of those customers.
As I say, there's endless possibilities as to what it can do. But if we think about what's been shown and what's been seen already, the ability to be able to interact with those, let's say, for example, documents. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to create a sales proposal for a customer. You need to create a presentation so that you can take them through a pitch deck, but all of your information's hosted in Outlook, hosted in Word, might be in in Teams messages as well, across meetings, whatever. But you need to create a really slick proposal that you want to land in front of customer. And the examples that we've seen here is where you can instruct Copilot within your prompt to create this, help you create this proposal. You know, pulling in documents, a Word document where some of that information is held, scouring those different environments that I talk to and applications that I talk to. So it'll actually create that PowerPoint for you. I think the important distinction I'd make there is get you to a point where you've got something to review. I think it's highly imperative that as individuals and businesses interact with Copilot, that you would always review the output that any large language model engine like that would go and turn out. You would always review it, but it gets you to 80% of the way, 90% of the way much quicker, within seconds. Whereas I don't know about you, I've sat in front of PowerPoints for hours trying to create the right view that I want to land, and with a partner, with a customer, and one, can alleviate that writer's block, but two, can help you get to that outcome quicker. So you can focus on the things that are most important, the customer conversation. That's just one of the things, right?
Yeah, I seen a video that was Copilot running in Excel, and it's safe to say, I'm sure everybody has that office guru that knows exactly what they need to do when it comes to formulas in Excel. And it asks Copilot, I want to see this, this, and this, and it will automatically draft up a comparison between the two column cells. And you'll say, can you visualize that for me? And it'll throw in a chart and everything. And I cannot imagine how much time that will save a lot of people that, you know, they're scratching their head, they're on their laptop at home, they're not able to go and tap someone on the shoulder in the office, and they're waiting for them to respond back on Teams. With Copilot, you could almost do the work in, well, I say half the time. We haven't seen how much time it could potentially save somebody, but that alone is enough for me to get excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can occasionally be seen as that individual. I do dabble in Excel. I do like Excel. I wouldn't necessarily refer to myself as a guru, but I do regularly.
Email address for Excel.
Yeah. I do regularly have people knock on my door about a few different things, and without even using Copilot, that's going to give me time back. Because to your point, those individuals that have looked at an Excel before need to draw correlation between data that they see in front of them and what it's trying to tell them. Copilot can help you with that. And I think the important thing as well to think about there is it doesn't just do it for you, it can help you understand what it did. so that it can actually help educate you so that you can become more self-sufficient. So if we think about, people interacting with new technology or moving into new roles, actually start to learn some of the stuff that would be beneficial for them moving forward anyway. But yes, I've seen that example as well. It looks amazing. Can't wait for it.
What do you think partners need to do to get prepared themselves for Copilot?
So prepared themselves, I think there's kind of two distinctions, right?
Yeah, customer, partner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do partners need to think about in order to get prepared themselves? And then actually what can partners do to help prepare customers? So in terms of preparing themselves, there's a lot of conversation around AI, and that conversation spans from the positive but also to the concern. And really when we look at it from a Microsoft standpoint, we talk about responsible AI principles. And we've got an AI fundamentals learning path that is available for partners to go through. There is a certification that can be taken at the end of it. But in order to understand more about AI, and that's not specifically Copilot, but AI more broadly, I thoroughly recommend looking at that. But we are also putting on readiness when it comes to Copilot. So there's an event, I think, in September, which will make sure that the link is shared following this podcast.
The boot camp, the Copilot boot camp.
Yeah, there's a boot camp for sales and technical teams. Make sure that there's kind of that appetite, if you will, to go and ingest that information. Yeah. And I mentioned it before, Microsoft Mechanics. But I think the other thing as well is what I think partners need to maybe think about doing in terms of preparing for Copilot is thinking about planning out as to how they're going to help customers. That's another important part. How are you going to assess customers' environments, and making sure that they've got the good principles in place to secure the data, to make sure that only the right people can have access. Thinking about compliance score. There's lots of conversations that will need to be had with customers. How's that going to be navigated? Because again, I talked about the licensing prerequisites. Not all customers will be on those licenses currently, and if the customers are interested, then there's transition that needs to happen there. So kind of putting a good plan in place, which of course...
It's safe to say it's not just, let's go and buy this add-on license to my M365 V3 license. It's, as much as it sounds simple, there's a lot of complexity in terms of you need to be aware of what you need to prepare for.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, and we'll move on to that customer piece then. So what can partners do to prepare customers? And I think this is important regardless of Copilot. Okay.
Yeah.
And what we've talked about here is around making sure that there's good governance over data, because I talked about earlier the ability to be able to pull in a Word document to help it inform a PowerPoint or another application or something you've asked it to do in Teams or Outlook, making sure that people have access to only the information they need to have access to, thinking about zero trust principles that we've talked about for a really long time. So yeah, for me, one of the main things that partners can help customers with is really about assessing what their readiness for Copilot looks like in the here and now, not only from a licensing perspective, but also from a security zero trust standpoint, thinking about that data governance. And there are things available for partners to be able to go and utilize. I mentioned compliance score that's available within the admin center, but we've also got funded assessments that can be utilized for customers.
Assessments, yeah.
Exactly. That can be utilized for customers to help not only determine data governance, but more broadly, if we think about security, where is a customer's vulnerabilities and how could it be remediated? What technology, either that they have access to or they could get access to, would help to remediate that. I have seen instances where the outcome of an assessment has flagged up that thousands of documents are openly available for anybody in the organization on a openly available SharePoint, no information protection attached. It's those circumstances really that partners can start helping customers with now, and they already are. There's a lot of great work that partners are doing that I see every single day. But for those customers that are interested, let's say regardless of Copilot, that's one of the things that can definitely be done now.
Yeah, because it's important to note as well that when Copilot will only read the data that the user has access to.
Correct.
So if you have SharePoint access control and users trying to reference a document or reference something that they don't have access to that SharePoint, it will not digest that information.
Copilot inherits your security policies. So I mentioned it earlier with Bing Chat Enterprise. There is no training of the large language model utilizing your data. Your data is your data, is what we've talked openly about. It respects the privacy of the organization. So to your point, yes, if Sally does not have access to this particular document in a SharePoint, Copilot's not finding that for Sally. She's not getting access to that. The individuals that do have the rights in which to view that information will be able to reference it. So yeah, that's why it's really important to make sure that those grounding principles are in place.
Yeah, but to go above and beyond all that, AIP, as your information protection, the document level
follows
policies,
the document, right?
Yeah, it follows the document exactly. Yeah, is the best way to ensure that if a document was in a SharePoint and accidentally saved in another SharePoint, you're confident that that document will not be accidentally shared or released to somebody that shouldn't have access to it, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's both sense, right? Making sure that there's the right control over SharePoints, the repositories for data, but also making sure that the documents themselves have the right protections. So regardless where they go, then only the right people have access to them.
As the phrase goes, it's like you're locking the door and then it's your deadbolt as well.
Yeah, like
absolutely. I have to ask this. I promise you that, I'll try not to embarrass you too much on what we said earlier, but for those who remember Clippy, back in the day,
I'm not one of those.
I know.
You can embarrass me.
I cannot believe this.
I did not work for Microsoft at the time, and I did not interact with Clippy. I now understand the context. So sorry, I'll let you go.
But back in the day when I was at school, I had Clippy knocking on my screen, saying, "Hey, do you want to save this document? Hey, don't forget to do this." Or, "Hey, Clippy, how can I do this?" Is it Clippy 2.0? Effectively, no, in the respect.
Clippy sounds very helpful. Clippy sounds very lovable and helpful. But my understanding there is, if you think about it, what I talked about was Copilot's ability to go and do some of this for you, get you to at least 80% of the way there, so that actually you've got something to go and review. Because if you think about it, you can go into a Word document, a PowerPoint, and search for help within it. But as I say, that's not Copilot. That's not Copilot. So yes, I'm not going to coin the phrase of Clippy 2.0 to not get in trouble with marketing or brand, but yeah, it's not.
Bring back
Clippy.
Clippy.
That's your campaign. Bring back Clippy.
That's my campaign. Bring back Clippy. Absolutely. So I guess moving on to the next topic would be legacy to NCE. Now that wasn't a direct Inspire announcement. It was a blog announcement around about the same time as Inspire, where Microsoft has announced that it is sunsetting legacy CSP for charity and education customers, because most partners have moved their commercial customers already to the new commerce experience. And Microsoft has now created a new transition plan for those partners to start thinking about moving the rest of their customers to the new commerce experience. What do partners need to do about this? Yeah,
so there's two different distinctions there, right? To make sure it's really, really clear, is those existing commercial customers on legacy CSP, because there are customers that are still in CSP currently. The end date that was previous in place was removed. As of next year, what we're talking about here, post January the 1st, is at the point of renewal, those customers will migrate to NCE, and then there's the situation around not-for-profit and education customers, which that was different because actually there was no landing zone
path.
Yeah, exactly. There was no landing zone there. So there's two different points there. But I think how do partners maybe think about it and what can they do about it is one point.
Inform their customers.
Yeah, exactly right. So the communication there was that Microsoft will automatically transition those legacy CSP customers to NCE at the point of renewal. I think really the encouragement here, and it's given in the guidance as well, is proactively engage with those customers, ensure that the understanding of what they have now is what they need for the future, not only from licensing standpoint, but also from a user standpoint, making sure that for that renewal, we've had a really good conversation with the customer about what they're utilizing at the moment, what challenges maybe they're facing, and how technology can support them, so that we're not relying on that automatic transition.
Yeah, because customers will typically have their licenses staggered across different end dates and things.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
If I had a subscription in January renewing, a subscription in April, you'd want to just move it all at once, obviously, because the complexity of having different end dates and stuff like that, co-terming on NCE makes it more possible to bring everything together. So obviously, yeah, speaking to the customers and being proactive, absolutely agree.
Yeah, I'd say that's 100%. The guidance there is, proactive customer lifecycle management is so important to every single business, not only partners, every single business, to make sure that they're continually providing value to customers. And hearing that an automatic transition would happen, I think really what I'd be thinking about here is
I want the control.
Exactly.
I want the keys
100%.
to this,
Yeah, I want control of that. Engage with the customer, understand what it is that they need, where they're at the moment, if that's not currently understood, so that can best be managed. And again, there's things available. We announced again at Inspire. So previously, I think the year before, Project Orland,
Sales Advisor now.
Yeah. So this year we talked about Project Orland is no longer a project. It's gone generally available and is now known as Sales Advisor, hosted in Microsoft 365 Lighthouse. So if you're not familiar with Microsoft 365 Lighthouse, go and take a look, helping you manage your customer environments at scale. But Sales Advisor, again, if you're not familiar with that, helps you understand what your customer's consumption of their licenses and solution looks like, but also helps you understand and manage renewals throughout that portal. So again, one of the things that partners can think about there is go and take a look at Microsoft 365 Lighthouse and Sales Advisor for definite.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's important to note as well that from an Ingram standpoint, if you have a customer success manager aligned to your business, our team will help guide the partners through their Sales Advisor.
Yeah.
We have the data as well that will go through the white space. If that customer is due to renew automatically next year, does that customer need to upgrade? Are they preparing themselves for Copilot next year? So having those types of conversations is what we're doing at the minute as well.
And just on that, because obviously I work with you guys and girls day in, day out. What are some of the things that you are doing to help partners, for any of the partners that tune into this and don't quite capture?
One of the important things I think is when we're looking at the different industries. So obviously, education is a prime example of this. Education will now be under the NCE terms, and obviously having one fixed renewal date throughout the year. Some of these legacy subscriptions in education will be sporadic throughout the year. And so what we're advising to our partners is sitting down with those education customers specifically and fine-tuning when we should be renewing their licenses and when should they have a co-term policy, I guess, of a specific time period in the year. So education customers will typically break up July, they'll have a month off, and then they're back at it in September. Well, ideally, if you're an education customer, you want your NCE renewal period to be in August or end of July, so that once the intake of fresh students has been collaborated for September, how many licenses you need for faculty members or students ready for the new year, and therefore you're not scrambling around midway through the year thinking, I don't know what my next year's intake is going to be. Is it going to be lower? Is it going to be higher? So I think that's one big thing that a lot of people are probably be forgetting about because we're so used to commercial, and most people have renewed in Q1 of every year with the tax year and stuff like that, which has been quite helpful. But obviously charities as well, making sure that charities understand the free SKUs that they're available, like Business Basic and the first 10 free Business Premium as a donation SKU. And making sure that they're utilizing all the licenses that they need, so that they're not paying for licenses that they don't necessarily need, or is their funding available, or is it going to finish during their commitment? That's something that a partner needs to check as well, to make sure that the customer has got the right funding as well. But we're also supporting the partners in the sales training as well. So I see Microsoft recently announced a refresh to its SMB Masters, now called CSP Masters program.
Yes, CSP Masters. So for those not familiar with CSP Masters, was SMB Masters.
Yeah.
We don't change names of things particularly often.
Oh no, of course not, never.
But CSP Masters, really here what we've got is both sales and technical training of our SMB solutions. So Business Premium, Teams Essentials, Windows 365, Defender for Business, to name a few, where we'll help the sales teams understand what the capability of the solution is and how they can engage with customers around that technology and what challenges it overcomes. But also then from a technical standpoint, like the customer likes it, customer wants it. How do we switch this stuff on if that's a new technology to your business? So there's 2 tracks there, but yes.
Because it covers that. I watched one recently to skill myself up on Windows 365 and Teams Phone. And you're thinking, oh no, to get technically ready for this, it will be a nightmare. But they're 1-hour video sessions. That, are live environments of someone from Microsoft demoing. Click here. This is what happens if you click this. Don't click that, and shows you how to deploy the solution. So they're really informative. But I guess from a sales perspective, you kind of have to have an element of technical understanding to sell the solution anyway.
Yeah, I mean, those bite-sized chunks, I've always been inquisitive when it comes to the technology from the back end, if you will.
Yeah.
Really with customers, it's about understanding the challenges that they're facing and how the technology can help overcome those challenges. And some technical knowledge helps with that. But, the sales team, the partners have got the ability to be able to determine what track they want to take. And they can take all of it. There are accreditations at the end of it if you want that badge.
Oh, LinkedIn badge. I love a LinkedIn badge.
Yeah, everybody loves a LinkedIn badge. But yes, that's here this year. That's here to stay. I think the first round's in September of live sessions that they're going to be going through. So again, check that out if you haven't already. But there is on demand. Yeah, link right here. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's important to note as well that if you don't have the time to go and learn about these, or if you want to explain these to your customers, Ingram are also running SMB workshops as well.
Okay.
So Microsoft is created some content for partners to go and deliver workshops that are created and can be white labeled by the partner, where if you wanted a demo to your customer on Windows 365, what exactly is it? If you wanted a demo on why is Business Premium such a big talking point for SMBs, Ingram Micro can go and deliver these workshops to your end customers with the partner on, white labeled with a webinar, explaining to your customer why should they consider this, why should they look at this technology that they may not be utilizing on their subscription at no additional cost. It's important to note that it's, we take the admin off you, deliver this value to your customer, and you reap the rewards.
Yeah, I mean, you're all, because there's a lot of you involved in that within Ingram. You're all doing great work with partners. The feedback's been amazing from the partners that I've spoke to that you've supported through workshops, and you've got a large number of workshops that you're supporting partners with over the next few months. If I think about it from that customer standpoint, right, it's just bringing it to life and helping your partners scale, which is what I love about what you're doing, helping give bandwidth and deliver it at mass. But from that customer standpoint, it's like anybody, right, taking something for a test drive, seeing it in action. What does it actually look like? How is it going to benefit me? What does it do? Those are some of the things that I've I've loved about seeing SMB workshops delivered and the feedback from customers, and the response in terms of what that then means in terms of what they decide to do around their transformation has been positive to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things we're promoting as well is our new Ultra program. So we launched this last year for our American partners, and we've just recently brought it to the UK. It's a membership program which can help partners get certified, get additional insights, and get better automation and know-how. So I guess off the back of that, when we're talking about SMB workshops and we're talking about CSP Masters, this program lets partners get 5 certification vouchers every month for those Microsoft exams, like the AI fundamentals you were talking about earlier. And it also gets access to additional insights. We were talking about the white space labeling as well. We go deeper and more granular on that. And the advanced automations team for those specific types of integrations to reduce the workload of a partner's complexity of managing their customers, billing and invoicing and ordering as well. And then finally, the other thing as well is to kind of go through, I guess, DMC, and you're going to hate me for this, but when I think of DMC, I think of DeLorean Motor Company. But you think of...
I think if you ask 100 people DMC, they're going to be thinking Run DMC.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about sales and technical, okay? Yeah. But there is a massive part of any business that's super important, and that's marketing. DMC, Digital Marketing Content on Demand, for partners, is a great platform to go and check out. Is a campaign management platform where you can schedule information to go out on your social platforms. There's white label content in there already to go and engage with and look at, but maybe helps your marketing team along the way in terms of the message that they're wanting to take to your customers. So yeah, we can't talk about only the sales team and the technical team. We have to make sure that the marketing team are looked after as well. So DMC.
And it's free, right?
Yes, it's free for partners.
Yeah, brilliant. So I guess, insert link here. Obviously, there's a lot of different workshops that Microsoft is running and that Ingram is running as well. So I guess that's all the content for today, I guess.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. As I mentioned, we'll make sure that all those bits that we talked about, that there's the relevant links available for anybody that wants to go and pursue more. I'm guessing that you're going to want partners to reach out to you if they've got any more questions.
Yes, cloud at ingrammicro.co.uk is our generic email address for the UK partners. If there's anything specific you want to ask, and we're happy to reach out and respond to those.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yes, pleasure. Thank you everyone.